All right, it is time to talk about my number one quarterback. He gets the stamp for absolutely worth my money, and I know that it's going to be expensive to invest in Trevor Lawrence. I know that. I'm aware. But dude, when people say he's the best prospect since Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, John Elway, he fits. But you know what? He did a whole lot more in college than all three of those guys. He's taller than a couple of those guys. He's a better runner than a couple of those guys. Trevor Lawrence, guys, I'm telling you, oh man. So I've always loved Trevor Lawrence. Okay, since he started at Clemson, his freshman year, I've always been a fan of Trevor Lawrence. So when I started doing all of my research, I pushed all of his stuff to the end. I was like, I want to go through and be objective to whether or not I fall into the narrative that Trevor Lawrence is this incredible prospect, that he's the number one quarterback in the draft, guaranteed number one overall pick. I wanted to do everything else myself and come up with that myself. Not even close. He's the best quarterback prospect I've ever seen. Out of every year that I've been doing this, and I've been doing my own evaluations of quarterbacks, looking to see who's worth my money, he's the best one I've seen. And I started doing this in 2018, so it's not that long. But not even close. He's the best. Let me just read through the pros on Trevor Lawrence's list. 40 games. His freshman year, they were the number one team in the country. They won the national championship. His sophomore year, they were second. They got beat in the championship game. His third season, this past year, they were the third best team. They made it to the playoffs. They got beat by Ohio State. Clearly the third best team. So that's 3 championship caliber seasons that he led. Again, a very good Clemson team. Like, I don't want to discredit Clemson whatsoever, but that turns into another pro, right? Like, he has been working with NFL level talent, high quality coaching from Dabo Swinney. He's used to the speed. He's used to the coaching. He's used to the Clemson atmosphere that is more like the NFL than most other, teammates, coaches, and atmospheres. A generational talent. He's 6'6". Every asset that you could expect or that you could hope for in a quarterback. He can run the ball. He can make all of the throws. He's extremely cerebral, very smart guy. He's an honorable student at Clemson, great person, an absolute leader. There's not a single person from Clemson that has ever said anything otherwise, to my knowledge. Everybody just talks about how great of a leader he is. His greatest asset, I think, in the NFL, in today's NFL, is how good he is with the RPOs. The run-pass option plays. He's been doing them for years at Clemson. He's extremely gifted with them. He can do all three things. He can hand the ball off and, carry out the fake. He can run the ball himself and be a threat. He can throw in those situations better than almost anyone I've ever seen. So as the RPOs trend in the NFL, you're bringing in a prospect that has all intangibles of a pocket passer, can throw on the run as well, although it's not his highest strength. He can. And then with the RPO stuff, like he's literally maybe better at the RPO stuff than everybody else in the NFL. I think Carson Wentz is pretty good at the RPOs, and I put him in that category. He can throw in the pocket. The upside to Trevor Lawrence is insane. The championship caliber we saw in college, I think we're going to see that style of play in the NFL. Now, at Clemson, he had a championship defense as well. The Jaguars it's going to take some time to create a championship defense. It's going to take some time to surround him with other championship caliber players on the offensive side of the ball. But make no mistake, it makes me a little sad because I'm a Colts fan at heart. And I think that there is a reign of Trevor Lawrence in the near future. John Elway, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck took teams that really struggled and made them really great. You're going to see that with Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. I really believe that. He's 100% worth my money. I could probably say that about any team that he went to in the NFL. He's going to make wherever he goes better. If there's some crazy blockbuster trade and he ends up going somewhere else, he's going to make that team better. He's just that kind of person, that kind of leader, that kind of talent that, just is above all. He's the number one draft pick. Like, there's no question about it. We have a lot of prospects this year. I think of Penei Sewell, who everyone's saying he's the number one tackle prospect that we've seen in a long time. You have Kyle Pitts, who is the number one tight end prospect we've maybe ever seen, as well as just like an athlete in general. Devontae Smith won the Heisman. We have all of these great, phenomenal players that maybe in years past could be the top pick, could be in that top 5 pick. And guys, Trevor Lawrence, he's the number one prospect we've seen. He's insane. To look at his college career from a true freshman, from a 4-year starter and an incredible high school football player, to come in and start as a true freshman, look like he didn't miss a beat, to go and win a national championship as a freshman, to be at that level for 3 years. Like, this guy is NFL ready. He's going to start week 1. He's going to look like he belongs in week 1. I think it's going to take a while for the Jaguars to catch up to Trevor Lawrence, to be honest. I think he's that good. And of course, every quarterback, no quarterback's perfect. Every quarterback has an area of improvement. They say he doesn't paint corners. Like that's one of his things that he needs to work on, is painting corners for yak yardage. He completes the pass, but he hits the dude in the chest instead of putting it outside for him to run a little more. Like, when that's the worst problem you're talking about with a quarterback, like, man, come on. He is aggressive. He takes chances with some throws. He'd get himself in situations, we saw this against Ohio State, where he's such a competitor that he will try to do too much to go win a football game. Sometimes that wins you football games. Sometimes that keeps you from winning football games. To say that's a knock on a guy, to me, it's like he might try to do too much. If the defense gives up the touchdowns the first 4 drives and he's down 28-10, he might try to do too much in the second half. But sometimes that's going to win him games. Sometimes that's going to win the Jaguars football games. So when I hear people talk about his negativities, I dug deep to try to find some negativities that people said about him. And, they talk about him being a body thrower instead of an arm thrower. Like Mahomes is a perfect definition of an arm thrower, as in he could throw stuff left-handed, he could throw stuff behind. He could do all kinds of unbalanced, off, arm throws that are maybe so unorthodox and still complete them in perfect spirals. Trevor Lawrence isn't necessarily that guy. He's more of a body thrower that wants to get his feet set and throw everything with perfect mechanics. But see, he can do that on the run. He can do that, shifting around, manipulating the pocket. He can still make all of those throws. So it's not that he's limited. We might see less backyard throws from Trevor Lawrence, but we're still going to see the completion percentages and the great throws that we see from other good quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence is exceptional. Every time he throws the ball, it seems like he was 4th in completion percentage and in one of the best years we've ever seen in terms of completion percentage. He's everything. He's everything that they say he is. When I look at his fit with the Jaguars, listen, they've made a lot of investments in that defense in the offseason. You never really know when you're bringing guys in from all over the league. You never really know how they're going to mesh. For my Colts this year, I hope it takes them a few years to mesh up really well on defense. But they brought in a lot of great defensive players. They brought in Urban Meyer. They got a new GM. They brought in Marvin Jones. They brought in a couple other receivers like Philip Dorsett. Some of these guys that have been in the league for a minute and kind of bounced around. They're going to have some depth. I have DJ Chark. I think DJ Chark is a great receiver, and he's going to be a huge asset. He could be the number 1 guy for Trevor Lawrence in his young career here that we're about to see. And, he's young enough that he could ride with them for a little bit. I'm excited to see how that relationship pans out. They franchise tagged Cam Robinson, who was a meh kind of offensive lineman. I think they can do better. I'm hoping they do better in the future. What I would really love to see the Jaguars do with one of their other early picks is to take a tight end. I mentioned Pat Fryermuth from Penn State with Zach Wilson. I think I would like to see it kind of get a bidding war. For Pat's sake, I hope it kind of becomes a bidding war to see if the Jets or the Jaguars can add that tool to their young rookie quarterbacks, because I think it would be great for them. There's a couple other tight ends, Tony, I think I want to say these names right, Tony Poljan or Hunter Long. In the 3rd or 4th round, there were some tight end prospects that I think could fit Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, for that matter, pretty well. They could get them. They do have Tyler Eifert as a tight end there, some experience to help out a little bit. But yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be an immediate problem in the NFL for opposing defenses for my Colts. For the Titans, who have a pretty good defense, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be somebody that we tune in to watch, much like Joe Burrow. Only I think he's better. I do. Crazy to say, because I'm a huge Joe Burrow fan as well. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, every bit as good as everybody says he is. There has been no overstatement about him that I've seen. You know, he recently did an interview where he was talking about how he's not really the player that has a chip on his shoulder. He's never had to be. He's been aiming for national titles ever since he was a kid. I mean, he won what did he lose, like 1 or 2 or no games in high school, something like that. State championships galore, and then he goes to college, wins a national championship. He was a contender all 3 years. Never really had to fight for his job because he's just been that much better. So he's coming into the league, maybe missing that chip. It's not going to take him long. You know, he probably will lose more games his rookie season with the Jaguars than he's ever lost in his life, high school and college combined. That's probably going to happen. And when that happens, we might see a chip rise up on his shoulder pretty quick. So I don't see those comments as anything negative. He said something like, he's not a win a Super Bowl at all costs kind of guy. I think that's been misconstrued. I think, you know, like what he's saying, you know, is simply the statement that, you know, football is not necessarily life. Sometimes as fans, we like to say, no, I want you to be willing to sacrifice your firstborn to win a Super Bowl. And he's just saying, I'm not that guy. I'm not sacrificing my firstborn. You know, we think of other quarterbacks like Tom Brady seems to be somebody that Super Bowl at all costs kind of guy, and we love to see it, and he's been a champion for such a long time. Andrew Luck was clearly in the spot of like, it's not worth that. Like, there's things that I don't want to do to win a Super Bowl. Playing through these injuries is something like that. I don't see, you know, Andrew Luck's decision as selfish. I think it was something he had to do for him. I think every single player in the NFL should kind of mull over some of those thoughts. I don't think we should, you know, chastise any of them for saying that. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is looking to get out of the NFL anytime soon. I think he's going to play for a long time. He's going to be great. So I don't put a lot of stock in the negativity behind some of those comments he made. I think he's a great asset to the NFL, a great person for kids to look up to in the NFL. He's going to be good for a long time. Trevor Lawrence, guys. I'm ready for Trevor Lawrence season. I'm ready for the hype. I'm ready to see him play really good against every single team except for the Colts. So, guys, thanks so much for watching these. We're going to do another video after the draft. I look forward to doing it. It'll probably be like a week or two after the draft when we see kind of how free agency plays out with undrafted free agents. And then, you know, obviously we're going to have our drafts, the guys that get drafted and where they go. And I'll do all kinds of good research behind all of that. So thanks so much for watching. We plan on doing other videos like this in the future. We're going to start a new season probably in the next couple months. So feel free to let us know what you think is a good series to do, whether it be basketball, baseball, football, or something else. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Trevor Lawrence, baby. He's the bomb. God bless.